Thank you for coming. So, a little rundown how this is going to go. We're going to start with introductions, and we're going to ask a few of our personal questions just to get some general ideas out of there. And then when we're done answering the questions, then if any of you have questions, then feel free to ask away. But so yeah, we're going to start. And since there's only 3 mics, if you last 2 could share a mic, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so right now let's just start with saying your name and what specifically you do. So we could go down the line, or whoever wants to go.
My name is Isabel Berry, and I'm an ultrasound technician and an X-ray technician.
Hi, I'm Diana Otua, and I'm a doctor.
I'm Kathleen Berry, I'm a doctor, a medical doctor.
And I'm Amberlyn. We are all doctors in family medicine. We all work together.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, first question. How did you realize that being in this field is what you wanted to do? What was that path to realization? So start down the same way that you guys did. We're just going to go through it like that.
Why did she just go? Well, you have What was the question? How did you realize? Well, right after high school, back then there was Job Corps. I got introduced to Job Corps, and honestly, I wanted to go for the least years of a career, so I went into X-ray. And after I went into it, I realized how much I enjoyed it. Once I became an X-ray technician, I realized that the market out there was brutal, so I ended up doing ultrasound so I could be more marketable in the field. So yeah, and I love what I do.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm the opposite. We all went for the most amount of time you could possibly do. My dad's a doctor, and so I got a lot of inspiration from him growing up, wanting to go into medicine. And my family's Nigerian as well, so going back to Nigeria, seeing how he kind of practices both in the States and helps out people from our home village really inspired me.
I was a little tiny kid, and I am like Diana. I had a parent, not one but 2, who were physicians, and it was an exciting thing to follow and see them do their work, and I was just a complete nerd. So I really enjoyed looking at things under the microscope as a kid, and going out and fishing things out of water puddles and looking at them under the microscope, and then I just carried on and moved on to this field.
So I also was very young. I was 8 years old when I decided I wanted to be a doctor. I did not have any doctors in my family. It was actually just because there were some missionaries talking about their time in Africa, and I was listening to their stories, and they were talking about how a lot of people die from diseases they really shouldn't die from just because they don't have access to care. So I decided when I was 8 that I was going to be a doctor in Africa. And I kind of do that now. So I travel to Africa 2 months out of every year to volunteer at a hospital there.
Okay, so for the next question, what do you think is the biggest downside to your job?
I don't really have a downside to my job. To me, the downside would be when I'd have to scan a patient and let them know that there was an abnormality that was seen, and it be diagnosed as cancer or a mass or something. And then on ultrasound, it would be not finding a heartbeat for the baby, and have to tell the mothers that there was nothing heard or anything. That would be my downsides. But other than that, I didn't see a downside. So I'm like,
So I agree. Telling patients bad news is pretty difficult. It's kind of a skill you have to learn how to do. I think the other downside, maybe because I'm more freshly done with training, but it takes a long time. So we all did family medicine, so it's 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, and then 3 years of residency for family medicine. And 3 years is the shortest amount of residency. And it can go up to 7 years depending on what specialty you want to do. So like neurosurgery, it's a 7-year residency. So it could have been worse if I was interested in surgery. Luckily I'm not. I would still be in training. But it is a lot of time, a lot of long hours, a lot of time away from like your family and friends in the beginning, but after you're done with training, things get a lot more manageable.
Obviously, I agree with all of them, but I don't think that, I do think the downside of the time commitment never really goes away. So if you're conscientious, it's very hard to turn this off at the end of the day. So you have a lot of anxiety about the things you have to tell patients and the amount of time you have to spend. So the time commitment is huge, and it is, I can speak from a lot of experience, it doesn't go away completely. You're always sort of on in many ways, not always. I mean, we have lives as well. But the other thing in medicine across the board is we live with a lot of uncertainty because every patient is different. And, you know, there's not black and white rules about how patients live their diseases or their wellness or whatever the choice may be, because we're all different. And so uncertainty is a big part of what you have to live with.
Yeah, I think I would echo a lot of that. I think another downside of being in medicine as a whole is that you can't save everyone. You can't help everyone, and actually what it means to help somebody may be very different than what you think is what it means to help somebody. And then if you're in this profession, it's because you care about people. So if you end up not helping somebody, that actually is kind of like the worst feeling. So I think that's another downside. But obviously that is the opposite of the fact that you actually get to help a lot of people, and that's what really makes it worth it.
Okay, so on a more positive note, thank you guys for answering, by the way. What is your favorite part about your career? So I know you kind of went into a little more about how like it was like the good side about it. So yeah, if you would all like to say your favorite part.
the favorite part of my career was first and foremost interacting with the patients. You get different types of patients every day, listening to them, hearing them. But the best part was on scanning, letting them know that they're pregnant. There was no fractures in their x-rays, you know. and being part of the puzzle to where the good news in their life, because they come back and tell you, if it wasn't for you, I would have never found out that I was sick or anything, and it made me feel really good that they could come back and say, thank you so much. So that was really rewarding for me.
I agree. Interacting with patients every day is a really rewarding part. I think something that you don't really think about when you are thinking about being a doctor is you have a lot of career options other than like practicing medicine and seeing patients. So all of us also teach. So we teach residents as well as seeing our own patients, and there's a lot of kind of sub-careers you can do outside of the obvious things with medicine, which I think is interesting.
For me, the best part of the job has always been the relationships that you form with patients. And in family medicine, it's the saying is that we take care of people from cradle to grave. And it's been very exciting for me to have 4 generations of families under in my practice that I get to see and I get to know. And as you all are committed to lifelong learning, as your motto says, so are we, and it's absolutely critical. But that's just a huge, fun part of the job, is that you're constantly learning and constantly turning over rocks on illnesses and things. It's a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favorite thing about it is that it's just fun. The medicine is fun. Every like sort of puzzle that you're trying to solve and put together is fun. The people that you get to meet, like the patients that you kind of live with over decades, and like their children and then their children's children, it's all fun. You like become a part of the family with them. I had a mom and a daughter in my clinic this morning, and I got to call the daughter a brat with her mom, and it was fun, right? Like we just have fun together as well, and the medicine is fun too. And when I travel, it's very different kind of medicine. We get to see very different kinds of patients, and so no day is ever the same.
Now, on the more technical-ish side, what skills should someone have to pursue a career like yours?
The skill that you would have would be interest in medical field, helping patients, do your due diligence on what you like and love what you do. Because if you like what you do, you're going to wake up every day wanting. I worked 5 days a week, and I'd work on call on the weekends, and it didn't bother me. I felt good going in and wondering what the next patient was gonna, be like. What was I gonna find or something, So technically, I worked like 7 days a week, and it didn't bother me. So I loved what I did.
For being a doctor, I think a skill that everyone should have is being inquisitive. Asking questions when you get like results back from like a CT scan or blood work that you had a patient do, always asking yourself, why is this the way it is? And kind of not being okay with things when they don't make sense. So digging deeper into things that are still a little bit confusing, or if a patient's still having symptoms, not being okay with just letting them live with it, digging deeper.
I think obviously curiosity is my favorite recommendation for somebody that pretty much wants to do anything, but particularly in medicine. The other thing is we talk a lot about critical thinking and how you need to be able to get from point A to point B and understand why you're getting there. So you do have to have that curiosity to motivate you to be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together, because no one gives you an owner's manual. Now you guys are all okay with that, but it's the real deal in medicine, because everyone's different. So I think those are really important.
The other skill that I think is very important is just people skills. You are going to be working with so many different people from so many different backgrounds at so many different happy stages and very unhappy stages in their life, and you have to be able to partner with them the exact same way every time. And so in order to do that well, you have to actually develop the skills to be able to meet everybody wherever they're at, whether or not they're yelling across the room at you, or they're like crying, or they're like jumping excitedly. And you have to be able to meet them no matter what. So people skills are definitely very important.
Thank you. And so for our final question, what is a piece of advice you have for someone who's debating entering your field? Or it could just be like something that you wish someone had told you before you entered your field.
I would encourage them, if they're interested, to, I don't know, what would I encourage them? I try to encourage, I have 4 kids, and I tried to encourage them to go into the medical field, but neither one of them did. So, like I said, you'd have to like the medical field, like she said, the people person, you know, talking to people and caring about helping people. And I guess that would be it.
Thank you.
I think one thing I wish I would have done more is don't let go of your hobbies. So training for being a doctor is very long, and you can find yourself kind of going all in and focusing only on getting into med school. Then when you're in med school, focusing only on doing well on your tests and getting into residency. Then when you're in residency, focusing only on graduating residency. And then you come out and you're like, you have all this free time, but you don't do anything because all you've been doing for like the last 11 years was training. So if you have things that you're interested in, keep doing them. If you like music, keep doing music. If you like art, keep doing art. I think the most interesting doctors and some of the best doctors have lives and interests outside of medicine.
I would say that as you're going through this, there's a lot of expectations that kids go into our field. And I would advise you all to think that over carefully and realize that it's a huge time commitment in every way, shape, and form, because you have to do well all along the way to advance. And if it's not for you, it's okay, and don't be ashamed, and don't have regrets if you decide you don't want to put in this kind of time and energy. And I have lots of kids in my practice who at your stage in life thought they wanted to be doctors, and I saw them, at the end of midway through college, and they said, I just wasn't willing to make that kind of commitment because it's such a narrow focus. So understand that you can change your mind.
So I'm going to cheat and say 2 things, because I think there are 2 things that are really important.
That's great, go ahead.
I can't let it go. All right, so the first thing I would say is, even if you want to be a doctor and even if you want to be in medicine, that doesn't mean that's kind of what Dr. Otua said. It doesn't have to be your only life. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I saw in friends in college was that they only chose their major based on the fact that they wanted to go into medicine. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do that. Have fun in college and major in what you want to major in, because yes, having a diverse outlook can actually make you a better doctor. You're gonna learn what you need to learn in medical school for medicine. So have fun in college. If you wanna be a dance major, be a dance major. If you wanna be an art major, be an art major. You can still get into medicine. Does that mean you have to work harder because you have to do extra classes to make the requirements? Yes, but if it's something that you are passionate about, it'll be worth it. So yeah. And then the other thing is that, we talk a lot about the time commitment, how difficult it is, how hard you have to work, how successful you have to be, and I don't want that to be discouraging. I don't want you to say, doubt that you can do it just because you've never done it before. I think at every stage in life, you'll surprise yourself that you're able to do something that you never thought you could do. In medicine, you have to take a lot of tests. Nobody likes tests. High school, you have tests, and like, do you guys have finals now?
Yeah, it's very
Finals
soon,
suck,
yeah.
right? And then you go to college, at least for me, my college finals were 4 hours long, and that was worse. And then we had like the MCAT, and that was like 8-hour test, and that was worse. And then we had to start taking tests that were even longer. It was a 2-day test. It's like, if you asked me in high school if I could take a 2-day exam, I would say no, and I would walk away, right? But we all did. And I just want to encourage you that like something that sounds impossible 10 years from now actually won't be. So just believe in yourself.
Thank you all for that. And before we wrap this up, does anybody have any of like their own personal questions that wasn't answered that they would like to ask them?
I got a quick question. I'm a teacher here at the medical pathway. A lot of my students, they're very much overachievers. They're pretty much A to Z. They don't want that in between. Like, I'm glad that you said that, and I'm glad that you presented like you could have fun and still get to that goal. But I have many students who are like, I want now. So if you could possibly share from high school, what possibly was your major in college, and then from college straight into, I guess, medical school. I don't know if you guys graduated in California, or do you recommend any medical colleges or pathways that are in the state of California?
Yeah, I can.
Sorry, no, whoever wants to answer that, you don't all have to answer.
Okay, yes, Dr. Barrett's not gonna answer. Okay. She said she's too old. Okay, so first, you do not have to get into like a super good college. Dr. Lin did go to a super good college, but I went to state school. I'm from Nevada. So I went to University of Nevada in Reno, and that's where I did my undergrad. And then I went to University of Illinois for medical school. I'm not from Illinois, so you can leave your state also to go wherever you want. And then I came here for residency at PIH. And there are some schools that have what's called like a BSMD program, where you'll basically, right out of high school, you're guaranteed a medical school admission. Sometimes those are 7 years long, so it'll cut down like the process by 1 year. Sometimes those are still like 8 years total. I'm actually not a fan of BSMD personally. I think living life is important. I do think, I understand just wanting to know that you have a career kind of guaranteed, but honestly, it's not really a guarantee, because when you get into medical school, there are still a lot of barriers that could possibly prevent you from being a doctor, and same within residency. So even if you're on the training path, it's not guaranteed that you'll finish. So I actually think it's important to take a gap year after college, in between college and medical school. A lot of people take gap years now. They're starting medical school kind of like in their later 20s and sometimes early 30s instead of right out. I went all the way through. But I did 5 years of undergrad. So I did 5 years of undergrad, and then I went right into medical school, and then I went right into residency. And I was really tired. I never had a real job until I finished like all my training. So my first job was at age, 31 or 30 was my first job, like my first like full-time job. And I think just having experience like living life outside of this gives you a lot of perspective. So I would say don't be so rushed to get everything done.
I do have something to add to that. I did not get into medical school, so I got a forced two-year gap year back in the day. And I went to UCLA and UC Irvine, so I feel extremely fortunate to have been able to go to school here. But I'm convinced that had I not had that work experience, I probably wouldn't have gotten into medical school the second time around. Because it made me a more interesting person applying.
I can speak to the overachievers because I am an overachiever. I went to MIT for college, and I was a bioengineering major because I was not going to be at MIT and not be an engineer, but I still knew I wanted to go into medicine, so I did the bioengineering part. That was a mistake. If I could go back, I would be a mechanical engineer and maybe do a biomedical focus, but the only classes I enjoyed was all my like coding and engineering classes, and I hated every bio class. So let's that be a warning to you. You don't have to just commit to that just because of medicine. So that's something that I would go back and do. I went to Washington University in St. Louis for medical school, which is a pretty major medical school. Everybody is an intense gunner there. But I think the motto that I definitely developed in college at MIT is like a work hard, play hard kind of model. So yes, I was still a straight A student and I like studied really hard, but I also was in crew and I went to frat parties every weekend and I was in an a cappella group and I was in the Asian like food study group where we just made food every weekend and had fun, had a lot of fun. Didn't sleep, but had a lot of fun. So you can be an overachiever and still enjoy your life. So please do that.
Thank you. And
Sharon, I wish that their parents were here to hear this.
Yep.
That message doesn't get
Yep.
Yeah, and I was the kid that, like, I have an Asian father, even my own father said, you have a problem with how like intense I was about my grades. So just, you can, you know, I got defended overachieving a little bit. It helps in a lot of ways. But also I did have to take a step back in college, and then medical school, I was the person that everyone thought was type B and like super chill, which is really funny because that's not true. But I had learned that in college, and I danced my way through medical school. So.
And does anybody have any other questions before we wrap this up? Okay, no? Okay, well, everybody give a good round of applause to our speakers. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate all your words that you shared with us today. And so now what we're going to do is, if you still want to ask them anything individually, they're going to have their own booths back there to where you could go and just talk to them and just converse. And then some have like some of their stuff that they brought from work to to show. So if you want to see something, it's cool. But yeah, thank you guys.
A thank you to support from our sponsor, Think Security. In this modern age, safety for your business and for your property is becoming more and more important, and for you, it should be a top priority. So why not have a trusted source? Introducing Think Security, the newest in security technology. This amazing company creates a variety of items with the intended purpose to keep you safe. Portable alert systems, security cameras, you name it. Go without a doubt with Think Security. You can contact them at 562-926-7555 or visit them directly at 272 South 5th Avenue in the City of Industry, California. Thank you. Now back to our scheduled entertainment.
Okay, guys, I think we're gonna start now. So thank you everybody for coming, and we are glad to have you all here. Okay, so before we start with our questions, we're gonna start with introductions. So could we have everybody in no specific order, like give us like your name and also like what career you're in?
I am Amber Lynn. I am a medical doctor in family medicine, and I'm the program director of a residency program.
I'm Diana Otua. I'm also a medical doctor and faculty at the residency program.
And I'm Kathleen Berry, and I do the same thing.
I'm Isabel Berry. I do ultrasounds and I take x-rays.
Okay, so our first question is, how did you realize being in this field was what you wanted to do?
So for me, my dad's a doctor, so I grew up kind of looking up to him. So around the age of like 5, I think I was telling people I was going to be a doctor. And my family is also Nigerian, so I've seen him kind of go back and do stuff back home. So that really inspired me as well.
Anybody else want to answer that question?
What inspired me? Right out of high school, I was introduced to in a program, Job Corps, and I was motivated to look into x-rays, and I started as an x-ray technician.
Okay, thank you. And our next question is, what is your favorite part about your career? months?
As a family physician, I take care of patients from birth to death and have had the pleasure of looking after 4 generations of families, and that's really exciting as you get so many relationships that you become a part of and intimate about and intimate in families, and it's a great privilege, and that's the favorite part for me.
Also, as a teacher in family medicine, because we're teaching residents everything that a family medicine could be, we do a lot of procedures. So we're taking care of our pregnant patients, we're doing their ultrasounds, we're doing their biopsies. If a patient needs a joint injection, we're doing that too. So we're able to have a really fun, varied day. No one clinic session looks like another, so it's a lot of fun.
We have one more.
The favorite part for me was the different patients, listening to them, when I'd scan them, the different abnormalities or normal things that I would find. Everybody was different, and just mainly listening to them and being a people person.
Okay, thank you. What do you guys think is the biggest downside to your job?
So for me, it would probably be the amount of time we spend training. So you have to do 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of medical school, and for us, 3 years of family medicine training, and that's kind of the minimum for all specialties. And depending on what you want to, what type of doctor you want to be, it can go up to 7 years of residency training. So it can be a really long time. But I think that it's important to kind of keep your hobbies throughout that process. So if you keep kind of your life outside of the whole process, then it makes it a lot less daunting.
Thank you. Could we get one more?
I'll go along with the time commitment as well, but I would say that you've got to learn to live with the uncertainty that comes with our business. And you know, we always don't know what's going on with patients, and they're all different. And there's no cookbook that works across the board. So you have to learn to be comfortable with uncertainty. And if you're not doing your job, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. So you have to be comfortable with knowing that you're not perfect, because that's hard. That's a really hard part of the job, is when we make mistakes, bad things can happen, but we're human as well. And so that's a large part of what we have to learn to cope with in our training.
Thank you. And our next question is, what skills should someone who wants to pursue your career have? Or also like what is like a skill you wish you had when you started out, or that you developed over time?
So I think we are all in agreement that one of the most important skills or aspects of somebody who wants to be in medicine is to actually just be somebody who's curious, and like somebody who's willing to dive deeper into a problem. Don't take things at face value, and actually just keep investigating, especially if something isn't quite fitting how you expect it to be, especially for a patient. Not being the person who's gonna just like blow it off, but actually stop and think and say, okay, there's something else going on, what is it? And feeling responsible to figuring that out.
If we could just get one more answer to that question.
I think Dr. Lynn summed that up a little bit in her thing, but you also need to have people skills. You need to really enjoy working with people and understanding that people are at their best and their worst when you see them. And you have to be able to roll with it and engage, and so those people skills are important.
Okay, thank you. And lastly, what is a piece of advice you have for someone who is debating entering your field?
advice would be, college isn't for everybody. I went a year for college and stuff, but vocational schools, colleges for, I don't know, medical field is always gonna be there. I went to, like I said, a vocational school. I finished in 2 to 3 years, and to me it was rewarding. I picked my own hours. I worked as much as I wanted to, and the pay was good. I was able to support my family and everything. So that's, do your due diligence on what you'd want, and I like what I do.
Thank you. Could we get one more?
I guess I would also just say, even if you are deciding that college is for you, don't be so focused on getting into medicine, getting to medical school, becoming a doctor, that you lose sight of everything else. Especially before you go into medicine, like the time before that is the time to really explore yourself and have fun. Like work hard, but play hard too. Like have fun, do what you want to do, major in what you want to major in. Don't just dedicate yourself to, I can only do this because this is the only thing that's going to get me into medicine. There are so many paths that are going to get you there. So choose the path that actually makes most sense for you.
Okay, thank you. And before we close this off, could we have anybody in the audience who has questions that we have not yet covered, or just something you would like to know more about? Anybody? Okay, if not, that's fine. But could we give a big round of applause to our speakers? Thank you so much to both the students and our speakers for being here and being present. And so now what we're going to do is our speakers are going to go back to their booths to where they could talk to you into more specifics. You can have one-on-one conversations with them and just get to know them better. But yeah, thank you so much.